In a cold Roman court, Priscillian stands before his accusers, fellow Christians. A bishop and mystic, he taught simplicity and devotion, yet his beliefs were called heresy. The judgment is swift. For the first time in Christian history, followers of Jesus condemn one of their own to death. He and his companions are led away. The sword falls, and the blood of a Christian is spilled, not by Rome, but by the church itself. Aetius was a scholar, Eunomius his devoted student. They believed in Christ, but not in the way the empire demanded. When the tide turned against their theology, there was no mercy. Exiled, imprisoned, their writings erased, their voices silenced. In a world that once persecuted Christians, Christians now persecute their own. North Africa, a land of faith, but not all faiths are welcome. The Donatists, firm in their convictions, refuse to bend to imperial Christianity. The empire responds with fire and sword. The Circumcellions, poor peasants who stand with the Donatists, are hunted, beaten, thrown from cliffs. In the name of unity, the church turns its back on its own. Jacob Baradaeus moves in secret, ordaining priests for those rejected by the empire. But secrets do not last forever. He is caught, dragged before his enemies, and beaten to death. His crime? Refusing to submit to a church that called his people heretics. In death, he becomes a symbol, but his followers will not find peace. Kill them all, God will know his own. These are the words spoken as Catholic crusaders storm Béziers, a city filled with men, women, and children, Cathars and Catholics alike. Swords do not ask questions. When the fires die down, thousands are dead. In the name of Christ, the streets are painted red. He speaks against corruption. He demands reform. And for that, Jan Hus is promised safe passage. A promise broken. He is bound to the stake. Flames rise. His last words, truth prevails, but truth does not always save the innocent. Paris, midnight. A wedding meant to unite Catholics and Protestants turns into a night of blood. The bells toll, not for prayer, but for slaughter. Admiral Coligny is stabbed and thrown from a window. Thousands more follow him into death. And the Pope, far away in Rome, orders a Te Deum, a song of thanksgiving. A city of Protestants, an army of Catholics. The gates fall and the nightmare begins. The streets of Magdeburg drown in fire, in death. Over 20,000 souls perish. When the soldiers finally leave, there is nothing left but smoke and silence. Zurich. The river runs calm, but soon it will take a life. Felix Manz, an Anabaptist, stands bound. His crime? Baptizing adults rather than infants. Protestant authorities declare he must face a third baptism, not in faith, but in death. The water closes over him, his voice is silenced, his movement lives on. He refuses to change his prayers, he refuses to change his cross, and for this, Avvakum, leader of the Old Believers, is sealed inside a wooden hut. The fire is lit, the flames rise, his voice rings out in prayer, until it does not. Missouri, a small Mormon settlement. When the militia arrives, there is no warning. 17 men and boys are shot, their bodies thrown into a blacksmith shop. A child, hiding in the corner, watches as his father dies. The state had declared them enemies. Their crime, their faith. Carthage jail, a mob gathers. Their target, Joseph Smith, the founder of the Latter-day Saints. The door is broken down. Shots ring out. He falls from the window. The prophet is dead. His people will not be welcome here anymore. Derry, Northern Ireland. Unarmed Catholic protesters march for civil rights. The British Army takes aim. The gunfire begins. 14 lives lost. The pavement soaked in grief. A priest waves a blood-stained handkerchief, begging for peace. There is none. A young professor, a unionist politician, Edgar Graham walks the university steps, unaware that today is his last. A shot rings out. A man with ideas, with vision, is left bleeding on the pavement. The conflict claims another victim. The cycle of violence continues. Christianity was born under persecution, but too often it became the persecutor. The sword of Rome became the sword of the church. The same streets that once saw Christian martyrs saw Christians kill each other. Christ stands crucified again and again, not by pagans, not by outsiders, but by those who claim his name. Throughout history, the choice has always been the same: join him in suffering, or stand with those who wield the nails. Each of these stories is a wound, a scar left on history, and yet, within them, there is faith, there is resilience, there is hope. Who do we crucify today? And when the moment comes, where will we stand?